That's correct.
So the next thing would be the approval of the minutes. I looked over the minutes, everything seemed in order. So unless somebody has a correction or a statement, I'd like to call for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Somebody second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes from last meeting will be accepted as submitted. Next order of business is reorganization. Yes, there was some thought to having a vice chair. I've been doing the chairmanship role now for probably over 10 years, and sometime soon, maybe by the end of this year, I'd like to step down, or at least step down from the chair position. If you have difficulty filling it with physicians, I'll be happy to stay on. I feel as though I'm starting to losing my touch with medicine in a way, because I've been retired now for 6-7 years. What brought up the idea of doing the chair and vice chair position? I think that's a great idea. I was just curious whether there was some statute that demanded that, or you just thought it was a good idea.
No, most boards have a vice chair just in case the chair is absent. That way we have someone who can step in.
Okay. And it would probably make sense for it to be one of the other two positions. Agree? Or not?
I would
Maybe
agree,
we'll have-
but they're not in attendance, so do we want to?
Yes, I realize that.
Yeah, do you want to defer
Yeah,
that?
next time they're on, we can talk to them about that. Okay, well, why don't we defer that and figure out how we want to, basically, if one of them would be willing to take the vice chair, and then I could maybe step down from the chair. Yeah, anytime, or at the end of the year, whatever. So, all right. Then reports. Do we have anybody giving a health inspection report today? I think you said that was submitted to you, didn't you, Michelle?
Yeah, so Shelley is out sick today, and Charlie had another engagement at the same time. He let me know that they did 63 inspections. They needed to do 21 rechecks, and there were 3 animal complaints.
What were the nature of the animal complaints? Are we having problems with like? Oh, okay.
I don't know, he didn't specify.
I know in our neighborhood, there was an issue a couple weeks ago where somebody had some pair of nasty dogs that kept getting out and supposedly attacked and brutally harmed like some little dog, and the people were having a trouble figuring out how to take care of it. They called the animal control. I don't know whatever happened there. I was just curious whether that was one of those 3. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right. So is that it then for the health inspection?
Yes.
Okay, then the next is lead abatement. Gerald, do you have anything to report there? I saw the memo about the free testing on February 22nd. Maybe you want to speak to that. I don't know whether that's something you're involved with.
Yeah, can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, perfectly fine.
Great. So I had a connection with the Department of Health, and they have a grant of their own grant where to test children in the community, and I forgot the number that they wanted. I think it was 1,000 or something like that. And they just came over to me to approach to see how we could do something for the community. They were more or less just looking for a location, and I reached out to Bethany from Public Works. She spoke to her higher ups and decided to do it at Public Works on a weekend. And then moving forward, looking to do events at like the public library and or the city rec centers. Just they're trying to make it a reoccurring event.
Good. How are they getting the word out to people? Come bring your child.
So I'm talking to them to see how their own marketing scheme. I reached out to our social media person, see if they could put it on our socials. I reached out to you folks. Maybe you could do what you can to try to present it.
I also asked Gerald that it be shared on the city council social media, so that has already been taken care
I
of.
wonder if it wouldn't even deserve a little blurb in the Reading Eagle. I don't know whether they'd be willing to do something, but you think that's quite a public service. They're supposed to be doing public service. Do we have any connections with the Eagle?
I don't. I have I went back and forth when I was doing marketing with a guy from WFMZ. I could forward it to him. Hopefully, he doesn't want.
Yeah. I don't know what would be the best way to. Yeah, because to me, I think this is a fantastic idea. My guess is that the limitation is going to be getting the kids out. The other thing, it is a blood test. Do you happen to know, I have no idea, whether it requires a venipuncture or whether just a finger stick does the trick?
They're just doing the finger stick, the capillary, and then
Okay, all right. Well, that's a little more palatable because I can see a lot of parents saying, we're going to go take you for a test to shove a needle in your arm, and then I can see some pushback from that.
yeah, no, it's just the initial prick, and then they get the
Oh, okay.
results. And if it's elevated from that point, they will refer them to their family doctor to get a full
Oh,
exam.
okay. All right. Good. That's great. All right. Do you know anything about, or maybe this is the water authority's bag? I don't know whether you know anything about it, Gerald. Oh, I mentioned this last time a couple of months ago. I got something from Rawa, I guess, and they wanted me to take a picture of my line coming in from outside and send it to them. I think the purpose was to just see whether by visually looking at it, whether you had a lead pipe coming in. I did not. I don't believe. Is that you know anything about what happened with all that, or what the results of that were, or is that really Wawa's bag?
Yeah, it's really Rawa's thing. I do know they have something on their website about a lead survey. Maybe that's the same
Yeah, I
thing.
think that's probably what it was.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Okay. All righty. Anything else on lead abatement that you'd like to talk about?
No, I'll just give you a unit count as of now. We're at 48 over across our 3 grants, and then the Healthy Homes Production Grant is starting to make its way. So we're gonna start taking applicants for that.
Oh, okay. Is that that's a separate bag of money that you got?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh. All right, on then to EMS. Does the emergical, anybody here from, let me see, Michael. Oh yeah, Michael's here.
Hello, doctor.
What you got? How are you doing, Michael?
Good, sir. Real quick, we'll just keep it quick. We had roughly about 28 to 30 Narcan events again for the month of January. 19,000 calls for assistance for the entire year of 2024. We had something I'm starting to track now because it's becoming more and more of an issue. As we all know, like with the trends in healthcare, people get discharged from the hospital sooner and sicker, and often a lot of lack thereof social services. Between myself and the EMS lieutenants, we filed at least 9 social service referrals to whether it be children and youth, Area Agency on Aging, or Adult Protective Services for things that just weren't right, like in the home, if we felt there was something. Now, we don't get follow-up, but it's just one of those where, we're just trying to do our due diligence and make sure that we do our best to protect the citizens. And last but not least, we're still transitioning to a new billing company. They are up and running. Things are moving smoother, but we're still kind of cleaning up after the previous billing company. Shelley, if anyone is having any issues or comes to your office with any problems for bills or something is incorrectly charged, have them reach out to Esmeralda and the chief's office or myself, and we will take care of that.
Thank you, will do.
You get any sense as to whether the opioid overdoses are on the upswing, downswing? Is that even seasonal, or are there certain times of the year where you see more of them? I'm just wondering whether things are getting any better.
Sometimes in the winter time you see a little bit less, but unfortunately with it's something that we see a lot of, and it seems to be, like I said, on average we see between the high 20s, low 30s. Summertime it goes up to maybe 40 some in the summer months, but for the most part we're seeing about 30 instances where we're giving Narcan.
Now, I know there were some concerns brought up a while back about substances showing up in these drugs, like, I don't know, I forget the name of them, they're horse tranquilizers or something, which are not amenable to reversal with Narcan. I was just wondering whether you were having more or less issues with those. Or how do they even know that's the case? Just when they don't wake up and they get the Narcan and they assume that, or how does that work?
Every now and again, we do get one where someone is having a little bit more of an issue. The Narcan's not really working, but I mean, as we know, unfortunately, with all the synthetic drugs that are out there, with all of the just different substances, or like hate to say it because there is no such thing as a good batch, but a bad batch of, heroin or whatever. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a little bit.
Painted batch.
Unfortunately, sometimes you find out either well after they get to the hospital or unfortunately in an autopsy.
I guess if they get it to the hospital, they can do a drug screen and I guess come up with it. But the problem is a lot of these people refuse to go to the hospital to understand it. Then you just repeat the process. All righty. I was just curious about that. Anything else on the EMS front? Everything cool as far as, your materials, you're not getting bombarded. I know there was a huge upset. Everybody I knew around the holidays were either coming down with something, had something, or got over something. And I heard of quite a bit of COVID around. I was just wondering if you had an uptick in COVID.
We had a little bit. It was kind of that, I hate to say, triple threat of like the flu, RSV, and COVID. It's been kind of subsiding a little, but we're still seeing a lot of sick respiratory people. As we're moving to the different fire stations in the city, I was just taking inventory as we're moving, the supplies of respiratory equipment and all for people. We have enough, if God forbid we would ever get into another pandemic scenario, we should have enough to last us at least 6 to 8 months start off. So we kind of built it up just enough that we don't have to get caught like under the gun right away.
Right. Yeah, I had COVID myself right after the holidays, and I went on the website of the FDA, whoever, and I was surprised they've changed their recommendations. I wanted to see what the current recommendations were and how long I had to stay away from people, that sort of thing. And it appears as though now they're no longer giving specific recommendations for COVID, but just general recommendations of what you're supposed to do when you're sick. And what they said, if you read between the lines, was that studies now show that 50% of the people who get upper respiratory infections say that the heck with it, I'm not going to test for COVID. So if they don't know they have COVID, you can't give them specific recommendations. So they're just trying to get everybody who is sick, regardless of what the etiology might be, whether it's a flu, cold, RSV, COVID, whatever, just to behave and stay away from people till you're no longer sick. I just thought that was interesting. All righty. Okay, then on to old business. The one thing that's listed, which I don't think there's anything happening with it that I know, was the Burke County Department of Health formation for that. I haven't heard anything about that. I have no idea where that stands. That's the Berks County Commissioner's bag. That's a county proposition, not us. Then the other thing I want to just mention for a minute is we talked momentarily last time about fluoride in the water. For those of you who have been around on the board for a while, about every 5 to 10 years, people show up and want to get fluoride out of the water. And there's always been a lot of pushback against that because in the past, everybody who kind of had that notion seemed to be a bunch of crackpots, and they seemed to have these all conspiracy theories. And the studies that they pointed to as being of concern were really terrible studies. They were from China, and most people didn't give them much credit. But evidently, more recently, and there have been people have been looking at more studies, and there's been brought up some legitimate concern now about whether high fluoride levels might affect the IQ of children. There was Bob Hosper was kind enough to give me a article which I wouldn't have otherwise seen. It was in the New York Times about maybe a week ago, and had a very comprehensive kind of background on what was going on. What they said was, yeah, there's some studies that when people started reviewing these studies, there was some concern that it affected IQ, but these studies were done in other countries where the levels were much higher. In fact, they had a correlation with every time the level went up 1 part per million, the IQ dropped 1.5 points or something. Well, here in the United States, you get less than 1 part per million. So, it's all about dosing when it comes to lethality and, things hurting people. There are a lot of things in this world which tiny doses don't hurt you, but big doses will kill you. Even common things, drink enough water. So the state of California, and I guess the Supreme Court ruling was out there, said we got to put a brakes on this, and they sent it back to the FDA. So nationwide, I think there's a lot of people putting their heads together and trying to figure out where to go with this. I don't think we as a health board right now need to come out with any statement. I mean, there are a lot of people who have better background on all of this than we do, and I think we have to just see where the dust settles in all of this. In my opinion, there's absolutely no doubt that it's been a tremendous benefit for the pediatric population as far as helping their dentition, caries, etc. Question is, what's the downside and how big is it? And that's what you got to measure when you're talking about public health problems. You got to look at the benefits and risks. So we'll see where that goes, but I think Florida was looking at possibly getting it out of the water. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But that's all I know about that. I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about that. I'm surprised somebody hasn't come to city council yet and started kicking and screaming about that.
They have.
Anybody have any additional knowledge on that, or do you have anything else to add, Michelle?
Oh, I just said someone was at council not long ago, and that's why it's back on this agenda and on the EAC's agenda as well.
Okay. All right. So, and we'll have to wait and see. I don't know where it stands, with the, I guess the FDA and whoever regulates that has to look at it now. I guess they need better studies too. It's irrelevant what, ultra high. Oh, and then they even talked about like some of the people who got really high doses from well water, that it was no good. I mean, and that's always been known. When I was in medical school, they gave us the history of how this was, fluoride was determined to be good for teeth. They were found parts of the world where people's kids had rock hard teeth, never any cavities, but their fluoride levels were so high they had fluorosis. Their teeth were abandoned and looked like heck. That's because they had these sky high fluoride levels. So there are clearly some areas of the world where naturally fluoride occurs in high concentrations, and you don't want that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a controlled amount that gets put in the water. So we'll see. So I don't know where that's going to go. Any other comments on the fluoride? All right. Any new business that anybody wants to bring up? Nope. All right. I don't know of any other business.
Hold on, Doctor, go
Any
ahead.
other comments for the good of the order?
No, what I want to say is, I don't know if this is because there's, health, product safety. I live in Lower 3, and next to my house is a market alley over there, all right? During the winter right now, was 2 feet the ice over there, and there is a handicap ramp. I called here in the city, computer put me through somebody, I don't know who was. I explained everything, almost one lady handicap almost fell down there because the ice was too big. So that's a health problem for me because I don't want nobody to fall down in front of my house. So this person on the telephone, she interviewed me like I go for a job. She asked me all kind of questions. And I said, that is not part of my house, that is a part of the market alley street. My sidewalk is clean. So
Right.
she even talking by the end, she said, okay, I go send the help, somebody from the city to help to clean it that part over there. But the sunshine cleared the ice stayed there for half the week. I was feel terrible when the people used to cross because it's a lot of traffic, people driving that sidewalk over there. It's next to what they call the fire department club, or 40, Lower 3, and the people are going to 63, the children coming from the school, anytime they going down little ramp, they'll follow down like crazy. I'm like, okay, so the city never show up, so I was feeling uncomfortable. I said, well, why call the city hall if nobody come and nobody help? It's like have to be another way, to take care of this problem because that is part of the city. They're supposed to clean it for, especially it's a handicap ramp over there.
Well, alleys depend. Some alleys are not city property. They're considered the property of the person whose house is next to it or behind in front of it. I know my alley is not what they consider not improved, so it's grass and weeds and all that stuff. All of us who have property from our fence line to our fence line, halfway back the alley, each must maintain that. So whether or not the city cares for the alley depends on whether or not it's paved. And there's properties, like people live there, like, Bell Alley, or, there's another one down there that's really small. It just depends on the status of the alley and whether the alley is considered a street, or whether it's for access only. So that's
Well-
why they may or may not have come to take care of the alley.
Okay, well, the alley is Market Alley 500 block. And the other side, nobody live it there. That is a building that used to be the fire department club. So it's no profit over there. And the other side, I live it. You know, I take care of the alley, but not that ramp because I take care of my sidewalk.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that on the maps and see if that's something that the city maintains or not. And I'll let you know.
All right, let me know if you can test me, you know, and
Yeah.
that way I know for next week.
Yeah,
That,
because more
I
is
have
coming.
to show.
More snow coming.
Yes,
All right, so then, it looks like our next meeting would be April Fool's Day.
it's my worst day of the year. I hate April Fools.
Why do people always get you?
No, it's just, I don't know, it's never been. I'm not that kind of person, I guess. That's the jokester, so.
Yeah, right. Okay, well then if we can have a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see you guys on April Fool's Day. Have
Okay.
a safe rest of the winter.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
all right.